What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy here. How's it going? It's been 48 days since I've been kite surfing. This is the longest I've gone since I started kite surfing 13 years ago. Been on the mend from surgery, and I'm not going crazy yet. So what happened? I was kite surfing. It was offshore in Nahant. 3 to 5 foot waves. Wind started light, but it ended up being maybe like 25 miles an hour. I was pretty lit at times on the 12-meter drifter. I was riding a strapless surfboard. Beautiful, warm, sunny January day in Massachusetts. Waves were about 9 seconds apart. Mwah, pretty clean. It was pretty awesome. I was being pulled onto waves. It was offshore winds, and I love going down the line, slashing waves that just peel down the beach. Sometimes the best days at Nahant are like 3 foot wave days offshore, and the waves, you can just slash these perfect little quarter pipes, like just do 20 times, just going right down the line. It's awesome. So what happened, you can see it from the video. I had all of my weight in my heels, right? So your front foot's kind of pivoted out, your back foot's more or less like, square on the board. I kind of had all my weight on my back foot, and I didn't really push hard enough to get my tail out, and my toe side edge, the top edge of my board, kind of rode the lip of like a wave that was curling, barreling, and hyperflexing my foot and toes. So I remember taking stock in the water, and just being like wondering if I could ride back from where I launched from. I was like at least a half mile down the beach from where I started. I was kind of getting teabagged, I was right where the waves were breaking. The kite was pulling me up, and like when I ride offshore, I ride with a surf leash on my surfboard. And so like every once in a while I'd get teabagged, and like the surf leash would like pull on my foot, and that was the foot that got messed up, and I would feel like a bunch of pain, and I was like, all right, I just got to get back to shore. So I just started body dragging back. Thank God my friends, they saw me ripping it up, and when my friend Sam saw me body dragging back, he knew there was something up. So by the time I got to the shore, he had already landed his kite, and he was ready to land my kite for me. So that was awesome. Another funny thing is too, the next person that came up to me saw what happened, and then they came up to me to ask me if they needed, have them call me an ambulance. And it turns out it was this guy, Eric, that I work with. And so it was just like small world. He ended up getting my car for me. Super appreciate that. So I just remember my foot looked weird. I was in my booties, and just one booty did not look like the other. Like the front part of my foot was sticking out way more. I had like a lump on the top of my foot. And I've looked at the footage. I'll show the footage. Right? Yeah, right there. So it doesn't do it justice in the footage. I just remember being there and staring at my feet and being like, oh, that's kind of messed up. That doesn't really look normal. So I rode home in my car, and the adrenaline was kind of wearing off, probably as I got like 2/3 of the way home, and I started feeling more pain, like enough pain that your stomach kind of gets a little queasy, and you feel like a little sick to your stomach. And I was just saying to myself, I just need to get home. I just want to get home and assess this. Thankfully, I got home safely. I got a call from Kiter Mike, who heard what happened, and he just wanted to check in. He happened to be standing next to Claudius, who and passed the phone to him, and it turns out that Claudius is the head of surgery at a place called St. Elizabeth's, and he recommended I go there. So, Boston, it's got so many hospitals. There's at least 20 hospitals in major Boston. I don't really go to hospitals that often, so I was like, I don't know which one to go to. So I was just really thankful that I got a recommendation, and super stoked that they gave me that recommendation, because I went to the hospital and no one was in the emergency room. They saw me right away. Like, ding, 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 ding. Like, I couldn't be more psyched about that. They took x-rays. They're like, you need surgery. They booked me for 7 a.m. the next morning, and that's like kind of all she wrote. I was in and out of the hospital in like 40 minutes. What did I do? I got a Lis Franc injury. Let me explain. Like the Lis Franc joint, it's a joint complex that basically includes the bones and ligaments that kind of connect the midfoot and the forefoot together. So it's a Lis Franc injury is basically when one or more of the metatarsal bones are displaced from the tarsus. So your metatarsals are like kind of like the bones below they're like and almost like an extension of your toes. These like long bones behind your toes, and they meet up with the tarsus, and your tarsus it's got like 7 bones in it, and that makes up basically your ankle area and your upper foot. So if you get this injury, depending on, you know, how severe it is, there's kind of different options. You could get screws or plates, or screws and plates. And then, you know, what everyone was basically saying is like what you don't want to get is a fusion surgery, and that's when they kind of fuse all of your bones together in a really severe injury. It's not that ideal for an active person. And, you know, I love, you know, running marathons and ultra marathons and kite surfing and just being active, and like people were like, you don't want that. So it was just weird going into the surgery being like, this is one option and this is the other. It turns out, I guess what I got was, they were called K-wires or Kirschner wires. I keep referring to them as shish kebab skewers, that basically they stick in from all angles to keep everything together. So I was totally under anesthesia and out cold, and they probably, you know, put all of them back in. And then I guess it looked good enough that they were able to drill in these wires that would like stick into my foot and then like bend them back on the top. And it's funny, like you coming out of surgery, I vaguely remember talking to my doctor. His name's Dr. Van Lanker. And the next day I had to call because I didn't even know what happened. I don't remember what we talked about. And the nurse told me I had 3 of these K-wires in. So I like looked them up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I have. And then 2 weeks later when I got the soft cast off and got another x-ray, I found out I had 7 of them. So it's nice to know that you have, you know, more metal than you originally thought in your body. So basically, it said that, you know, some people will never return their pre-injury levels of you know, sport. So even with excellent like surgical work, you know, I could still get arthritis and stuff down the line. My buddy Faraz mentioned, I think he mentioned that he feels his foot a little bit more when it's like cold out or it acts up a little bit. He had the first and second metatarsals, and he was using a twin tip when he had the injury. Basically, like, you know, it's got the strap, and if you think about it, I think he landed on a wave, but it basically pulled his, you know, his foot got pulled out, but stayed in the strap, and so basically like kind of broke. He broke his first and second metatarsals and had another couple fractures and stuff. So his is a little more severe than mine. Mine are like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th metatarsals, so a little less weight bearing. So anyway, all of us kind of thought that a Lis Franc injury would only happen with people in twin tips, and seriously, like I was definitely saying like, oh, it's not gonna happen to me because I ride strapless, but I just proved myself wrong. Ate my own words, foot and mouth, all of that. You know, it's just good to know for any of you who are wondering, is it possible? It's totally possible. So, what's it been like? It's been a while. It's been very different. It's a total shift. The first 2 weeks I had a soft cast, so I had my foot elevated. Whenever my foot was elevated, all was good. Whenever it was not elevated, you could just feel the blood rush to it, and it would hurt like pretty bad. So I wanted to elevate it as much as possible. You know, I stayed out of work for at least a week and a half, and I mean, that's for a couple reasons. I probably could have gone a day or two in earlier, but like even when I went back to work, I was just like not really happy being at work because it hurt, and it's not easy to like keep your foot up all the time. So the cool thing is a lot of people checked in with me, and I was surprised how many people would ask how I was doing both physically and mentally. It was really nice. Weird, but nice. And I really appreciate and totally recommend to, you know, you to reach out to any of your friends that, you know, has any sort of injury, and keep checking in with them, because, you know, it could feel okay a day or two later, but a lot of people get depressed off of this stuff. It hits you in a weird way. It changes your life. It's like a DUI, you know, that they say DUI ruins lives. It's like a major injury can totally ruin your life. I live on the 3rd floor of a building. For that first week and a half, the first 10 days, I did not leave my apartment because I just couldn't really deal with doing anything else. Thank God my wife was an angel and she was helping me out and everything. Yeah, it really eschews your whole life. So it's kind of funny. I had fantasies about being bored for years. Like, it's been like 15 or 20 years since I felt boredom. And so even when I was parked on the couch at my apartment for like 10 days for this thing, I loved it, and I kind of embraced it. And if no one was around and it was quiet, instead of watching TV, I'd just close my eyes and get all zen. But I couldn't really work at my desktop computer, and my kids, I have a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and they were around the whole time, so it wasn't really time to get stuff done. My friend Faraz, who had that Lis Franc injury from kiting, he gave me a knee scooter and kind of like a peg leg. Looked like a pirate when I used that thing. And I highly recommend getting a scooter if you have this injury. It gives you your mobility back. It makes you feel more normal by being mobile, and it kind of hurts less as well, so I highly recommend that. The downside of that is you can't really do stairs. They are pretty darn heavy. Going down the stairs, lifting this like 40-pound or I don't know, maybe more, just not the ideal situation. So I couldn't really do public transportation. If I was going to work, it would be a rush hour. Where I live, the buses are just crowded. You have to really nudge your way to get on. I would have had to take a bus to the T, to another T, to switch, to go back out, and then I could only do one of the 2 T's that goes to my work because one of them had steps going down. I just didn't want to deal with that with a ton of people. Ugh. It was just, it's hard. These are all things that you don't think about until your injury happens, So 2 weeks after my surgery, I got my soft cast removed. For the next week and a half, I was in a bunch of pain. More so than when I had my cast on. So I think what it ended up being is the guy who kind of wrapped my foot, wrapped it pretty tight, and those wires that were sticking out, they're just kind of getting inflamed, and then you have these they had these little things wrapped around the hook of the wire that came out, and those were really pressing into my skin. My foot was inflamed and a little swollen and everything, and so that pushing against my skin basically was making sores underneath, and that was starting to hurt. So I went to the doctor, and it figures I called the doctor. They're come in immediately, and I go in the next morning at 7 a.m. and it didn't hurt. When I woke up in the morning, I was figures, and then basically, they changed the bandage, and it was good. So I was cool from there on out. The one thing that's been really weird in just 2 weeks that I wasn't really ready for was losing a bunch of muscle in that leg. It was quick. Nothing I can really do about it, and everyone says it comes back quick, but it just reminds me of before my dad passed. I remember he had just reduced down so much, and I remember looking at his legs, and they kind of looked like toothpicks, and it reminded me of that. So I can't wait to get to the point where I can start working my muscles out a little bit more, and I really want to slay the recovery, So getting to work, I couldn't really get there on my own, so my amazing wife, JoJo, she'd bring me in because I'd have my knee scooter, and on the other days I'd be Ubering or taking a lift in. So before this, I was riding my bike to work every single day, rain, sleet, snow, sun, whatever, for 10 years. I mean, it's only about 4 miles, but I just had the gear, and I would just go to work every single day in whatever the elements would throw at me. So losing my independence totally sucked. It's not me. I'm a very stubborn kind of guy, and so having to rely on my wife and knowing that it shook up the lives of my whole family, it was kind of heavy. I did that for a few weeks until I couldn't take it, and I bought an e-bike. Thank you, Super 73, for giving me my independence back. I'll make another video on my Super 73 soon, but it's definitely made my commute a little more fun, and like I said, it just gave me what I needed, was just to be able to get to and from work without having to rely on all of these people. So that's kind of more or less where I am right now. K-wires, come out soon, and I'm really excited to be able to put pressure and start walking on, my foot and to build my muscles again. More on this soon, and I'm going to talk about the next step in my recovery and some things I've been doing for wellness and whatnot. But that's about where I'm going to cut it off for now. So thanks for listening to this Lis Franc ramble. I'll talk to you guys soon. Feel free to click subscribe if you want to subscribe to my videos and see some more. And definitely like my videos if you like them, and give me a mental hug. That's it for me. I wish you all an amazing day, and thanks a lot. Cool. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.